Welcome to the deep dive. So, you know that feeling when you're just sitting in a room, right? Maybe you're working or reading a book, and the air just starts to feel really heavy, like it gets a little stuffy in there.
Hmm.
What is the very first instinct you have? I mean,
Yeah.
you walk right over, you unlatch the window, and you throw it open to get a deep breath of fresh air.
Right. It's practically a reflex for all of us.
Exactly. We
Yeah.
crave that breeze to just clear our heads.
Yeah, and it feels like hitting a reset button for the physical space, You feel a rush of cool air hit your face, and your brain immediately registers that sensation as like clean, healthy, and natural.
It really does. But what if, by opening that window, you aren't actually resetting anything at all?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Today, our mission is to completely shatter your understanding of what fresh air actually is. We were taking a deep dive into this honestly radical, highly engineered approach to the air we breathe indoors.
It's fascinating stuff.
It really is. And we're looking at the claim that redesigning our atmosphere could fundamentally change our biological lifespans.
I mean, it is a massive paradigm shift. The materials we're looking at today, they propose moving completely away from the idea of just, plugging a standard air filter into the corner of your bedroom.
Right, like those little tower fans everyone has.
Exactly. Instead, it's about completely reimagining human interaction with our invisible environment.
And the source material guiding our deep dive today is truly mind-bending. We're looking at excerpts from a document called Master Insight 389, which outlines the creation of what's called a single-room paradise.
Yes.
We are also examining the technical design principles of its companion technology, which is the Air 80 Maze Purifier. And both of these texts are authored by Fuchi Wu.
Really dense, but incredibly detailed text.
Oh, for sure. Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can even begin to talk about the crazy microscopic technology inside these machines, we first need to understand the physical environment they're built to operate in.
That's a great place to start.
So what exactly is a single-room paradise?
Well, a single-room paradise isn't about, like, luxury decor or high-end furniture.
Right.
It is an environment defined by absolute, uncompromising control over the air source. According to Fuchi Wu's text, to establish this space, which, by the way, could be your home office, a bedroom, or any independent room, you have to meet a set of very rigid conditions.
I noticed that. They are extremely strict.
Very. You need two specific machines, which the text refers to as a new wind paradise and a human paradise.
Okay, two machines.
Right. You also need a split air conditioner, a directional fan, and above all else, you have to adhere to this cardinal rule regarding the physical space itself.
And see, that cardinal rule is the one I really have to push back on right away.
I figured you might.
I mean, the sources state that when using this room, doors and windows must remain completely closed at all times.
Yes, sealed tight.
Like, you can walk in and out, obviously, but you have to shut the door behind you instantly. Doesn't sealing yourself in a room with absolutely no open windows feel like, I don't know, trapping yourself in a plastic storage container?
It sounds a bit claustrophobic.
Yeah. How is that a paradise?
Well, we culturally associate closed spaces with stale, suffocating air, so the hesitation is completely natural.
Right.
But the logic behind this rule is the foundation of the entire system. Opening a window doesn't just bring in a nice breeze. It invites a continuous, unfiltered stream of outdoor pollution directly into your living space.
Oh, wow. I mean, I guess that makes sense if you live in a city.
Exactly. If you've spent the last 6 hours purifying the air in your room, opening the window for even a minute instantly undoes all of that work.
You just let the bad guys right back in.
Yeah, you're just continuously reinfecting the environment with urban exhaust, pollen, and microscopic debris.
Okay, I can follow the logic for the windows, but the sources also mandate that you have to use a split air conditioning unit, and they explicitly forbid using the central air conditioning that, most modern buildings already have.
Yes, that's a huge point.
Why can't we just use the vents that are already pumping cool air into the room? Like, why take them off?
So central HVAC systems are essentially massive shared respiratory systems for entire buildings.
Gross way to put it, but okay.
It is. They rely on vast networks of hidden ductwork, return vents, and shared pipes. And over years and decades, those dark, humid ducts accumulate an unbelievable amount of biological and chemical pollution.
Oh, man.
We talked about pet dander from previous owners, mold spores, chemical residues from cleaning products, and literal decades of accumulated dust.
It's like trying to fill a glass with pure mountain spring water, but choosing to pour it through a garden hose that's just been sitting at the bottom of a swamp for 10 years.
That paints the picture perfectly.
Yeah.
So you have to physically seal off any central AC vents in the room with tape or covers.
Just block them completely.
Right. A split AC unit is required because it operates entirely independently. It only handles the temperature and humidity of the air that is already inside that specific room. I see, without pulling in shared contaminated air from the rest of the house.
But wait, if we seal the central AC vent, we tape all the gaps, and we lock the windows tight, the air is just going to sit there dead. Stagnant air feels incredibly uncomfortable, even if it is perfectly clean. How do we move the air around without a central blower pushing it?
And that is exactly where the directional fan comes in. A single-room paradise isn't just about the chemical purity of the air, it's about the physical sensation of that air interacting with your body.
Okay.
But the text is very specific. You do not point the fan at yourself.
You point it at the wall.
Or the ceiling.
Yeah.
The fan pushes the purified air against a flat surface, causing it to bounce and scatter.
Oh, like diffusing the air.
Exactly. This creates a gentle, continuous, indirect circulation throughout the entire room. Instead of a harsh, direct draft blasting you in the face, you have purified air softly and continuously brushing over your skin.
Okay, that actually sounds kind of nice. But wait, if we are completely sealed in this room, isolated from the rest of the house and the outdoors, won't we just run out of oxygen?
That's the obvious concern, right?
Yeah, I mean, we would suffocate eventually. We need fresh air to breathe, but we just established that outside air is toxic, so how do we solve that?
This brings us to the two machines you mentioned earlier, the new in paradise and the human paradise.
Right.
What's fascinating here is the absolute division of labor between these two devices.
Oh, so they aren't just like two of the same air purifier placed in different corners.
Not at all. The new in paradise acts strictly as the room's intake valve.
Okay.
It is installed at the boundary of the room, like through a wall or a sealed window plate, and draws in air from the outdoors.
But wait, isn't that bringing in the toxic air?
It draws it in, yes, but instead of just blowing that raw air inside, it pulls it through an incredibly intense purification sequence. It strips the outdoor air of its toxins in a single pass, and then pumps pure, fresh oxygen into the room.
Wow, so it's basically manufacturing clean oxygen on demand.
Exactly. It solves the suffocation problem by delivering the oxygen from outside, but totally leaving the poison behind.
Okay, so the room is pressurized with clean air from the outside, but what is the second machine doing then? The human paradise.
Well, once you pump pure air into a sterile room, you introduce a massive new source of contamination.
Wait, what contamination? The room is sealed. Me, I'm the pollution.
You are the pollution. Humans are biological factories. Even if you sit perfectly still in a sealed room, you are generating pollution.
That's a little insulting, but go on.
I mean, you are shedding dead skin cells. The fabric of your clothes is releasing microplastics into the air every time you move.
Oh, I didn't even think about clothes.
Yeah, and your couch, your painted walls, they are constantly off-gassing volatile organic compounds, or VOCs.
So the room is essentially polluting itself just by existing.
Right. So the human paradise machine is an internal scrubber. Its sole purpose is to constantly vacuum up and destroy the pollution generated inside the room by human presence and modern materials.
I love visualizing this like a high-end nightclub.
Oh, nightclub.
Yeah, like the new wind machine is the massive, uncompromising bouncer standing at the front door. He checks IDs and physically stops any outdoor troublemakers from crossing the threshold.
Okay, I like this.
But the human paradise machine, that's the undercover security guard walking the floor inside the club, quietly breaking up any fights that start internally.
That analogy holds up really well, actually. And both the bouncer and the floor guard are operating to enforce a staggeringly strict standard that the sources call Air 80 quality.
Okay, Air 80 quality. What are the 8 zeros?
It's a checklist for the physical state of the air exiting these machines. 0 dust, 0 germs, 0 toxins, 0 smoke, 0 odors, 0 heavy metals, 0 microplastics, and finally, 0 aerosols.
0 aerosols? That is an impossibly tall order.
It is incredibly ambitious.
I mean, a standard HEPA filter you buy at a hardware store just uses a woven mat of fibers to catch stuff in a net. Aerosols and VOC gases just slip right through that net. So how do these specific machines actually achieve this 80 purity?
To understand that, we have to look inside the core component that powers both of these devices. The sources call it the Sacrificial ToxBox.
The Sacrificial ToxBox? I mean, that sounds like a heavy metal band, not an air filter.
It does sound pretty aggressive.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. What is the mechanism here? Air gets sucked in. What is the very first thing it hits?
Well, the ToxBox completely discards the traditional filter net concept. Step 1 is a negative ion and electrostatic pre-filter.
Okay, so electricity.
Right. This is the brute force stage. It uses an electrical field to grab the big, obvious offenders. Large dust particles, heavy pollen, pet hair.
The stuff you can almost see.
Yeah. But the tiny microscopic threats? The viruses, the VOCs, the microplastics, they blow right past it.
So how do we catch those microscopic threats?
They immediately enter step 2, which is the ionization zone.
Yeah.
Here, the air is just flooded with high-energy electrons.
Like sapping the air.
Basically. This zone actively neutralizes living pathogens, but its main purpose is to physically alter the remaining particles. It imparts a negative electrical charge to every single microscopic particle and aerosol in the airstream.
Let's break that down for the listener. What does imparting a negative charge actually mean in practical terms?
Think of rubbing a balloon against your hair.
Okay.
The friction transfers electrons, giving the balloon a negative charge. Because of that charge, you can stick the balloon to a neutral wall and it just hangs there, defying gravity.
Oh, right. Static electricity.
Exactly. The ionization zone is essentially turning every single toxic speck of pollution into a microscopic, highly charged static balloon.
So they all get magnetically tagged, basically.
Yes, tagged and primed.
And that sets them up for step 3, which is where the real magic happens. The sources call it the maze box. And the text describes a process called multiple forced impaction.
This is where the physics get incredibly elegant.
The way I picture it is like a microscopic, high-speed pinball machine.
That's a really good way to think about it.
Because the air doesn't just flow through a straight, hollow tube. It is violently forced through a labyrinth of over 60 sharp turns, zigzags, and tiny holes.
Right.
The air is moving incredibly fast, and the particles inside are getting whipped around these blind corners.
And you have a mix of different particles in that airstream. The smaller, ultrafine particles are easily manipulated by the static charge we just gave them.
They just stick to the walls like the balloons.
Exactly. But the larger microscopic particles, like the heavy metals and larger plastics, they are bound by the laws of inertia.
Meaning, an object in motion wants to stay in motion, in a straight line.
Precisely. When the high-speed air pressure suddenly forces the airstream to make a vicious hairpin turn inside the maze, the heavier toxic particles are betrayed by their own inertia. Think of a car trying to take a 90-degree turn at 100 miles an hour.
Oh, it can't make the turn. It flies off the track and crashes right into the guardrail.
That is exactly what happens. The heavier particles fly straight out of the turning airstream and violently crash into the walls of the maze.
And those walls aren't just plastic, right?
Right. They are positively charged electrical plates.
Ah. Because in step 2, every particle was turned into a negatively charged static balloon.
Negative attracts positive. The microparticle slams into the wall, and the opposing magnetic forces instantly lock it in place.
Just grabs it.
Yeah. The sources describe it as being similar to electroplating. The particle is permanently fused to the metal plate. It cannot escape back into the air. And because the air is forced to make these violent turns over 60 times in a fraction of a second, the purification rate reaches virtually 100% in a single pass.
Okay, but here's where I have to call out an obvious mechanical flaw.
Let's hear it.
If millions of microscopic cars are constantly crashing into the walls of this maze, eventually the walls are going to be covered in wreckage.
Right, they'd fill up.
Yeah, a standard filter under that kind of load would clog up and become useless almost immediately. It would just suffocate the airflow.
And that is the Achilles heel of traditional purifiers. Once the physical net is full of dirt, the machine stops pulling air. Or worse, the air pressure forces the trapped dirt right back into the room.
The worst-case scenario. But the sources claim the ToxBox solves this with something called the Progressive Saturation Long-Life Adsorption Design.
A very long name for a very smart concept.
Seriously.
Yeah.
They describe it working in stages, almost like a relay race where Zone 1 takes the brunt of the pollution, and when it's full, it passes the baton to Zone 2. But how does a stationary metal maze pass a baton? Does the internal machinery physically move?
No moving parts are required at all. It all relies on fluid dynamics and the path of least resistance.
How so?
When the air first enters the maze, it naturally flows through the widest, most direct channels in Zone 1. Those plates catch the pollution and slowly begin to build up a layer of fused particles.
Which makes the channel narrower over time?
Yes, and as the channel narrows, it creates physical air resistance. Because air always seeks the easiest path forward, the building pressure naturally redirects the incoming airflow into the fresh, empty channels of Zone 2.
Oh, so the clogging itself is what redirects the air.
It is a totally self-regulating system. Once Zone 2 fills up and creates resistance, the air is forced into Zone 3. By systematically saturating one small section at a time, rather than blanketing the entire filter at once, the lifespan of the machine is drastically extended.
Okay, that is genius. And that handles the physical particles like the dust and the plastics. But what about the invisible chemical gases? The VOCs off-gassing from my furniture. I mean, you can't crash a gas molecule into a wall with inertia.
You really can't. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is where the ToxBox shifts from physics to chemistry. The device utilizes a process called electrochemical oxidation.
Okay, electrochemical oxidation. And what does that actually do to a gas like, say, formaldehyde?
When the formaldehyde molecules pass through the intense electric fields between those metal plates, the field acts like a microscopic buzzsaw.
A buzzsaw?
Yeah, it literally rips the chemical bonds of the formaldehyde molecule apart. It oxidizes it, rearranging its atoms into harmless trace amounts of carbon dioxide and water vapor.
Wait. You are telling me this machine is actively incinerating toxic gas, breaking down chemical bonds inside my living room?
Yes, exactly.
At room temperature. How is that not a massive fire hazard? It sounds like it requires a huge power draw or literal combustion.
I know it sounds like it should, but it doesn't. This isn't thermal combustion, it's cold plasma chemistry.
Cold plasma.
Right. The intense electrical field strips the electrons without generating heat or sparks. The electrons do all the heavy lifting at the molecular level. It operates perfectly safely, even if the air inside the room is totally dry.
That is wild.
It is literally a self-cleaning chemical processing plant sitting quietly in the corner of the room. It digests the toxic gases so they don't take up space on the plates.
It's digesting the poison. That is incredible.
It really is an engineering marvel.
So through this completely insane gauntlet of ionization, microscopic pinball crashes, and cold plasma chemistry, we have engineered the perfect air.
We have.
The sources even give the output a name Heaven Air plus S.
Yes, Heaven Air plus NIS.
They describe it as a super heaven air quality. And what really caught my attention is the claim that this manufactured air is purer than a hypothetical biological heaven.
That is a very specific, almost theological claim to make about a household appliance.
I know, right? But the logic actually tracks. The text points out that if a biological heaven exists, it would feature nature. It would have lush plants, gentle winds, and rich soil.
Right, like an Eden.
Yeah. And because of that biology, it would naturally have organic aerosols, pollen, and microscopic fungal spores floating in the air.
Because that's how biology works.
Exactly. But Heaven Air Plus has literally none of that. It is an absolute sterile void containing only the pure oxygen and nitrogen mixtures human biology needs to fuel itself.
Nothing else.
So what does this all mean? We have all this hardware, the split ACs, the ToxBoxes. What is the ultimate philosophical point of sealing yourself in a single-room paradise?
The sources make a profoundly unsettling argument here. They suggest that right now, as we walk around our homes, our offices, and our cities, human beings are unknowingly acting as our own human air purifiers.
We are the filters.
Yes. Every breath you take in a standard environment, your body goes to work. Your nasal passages and lungs are trapping physical dust. Your bloodstream is absorbing microplastics. Your liver is working overtime to process the chemical VOCs you just inhaled from your new carpet.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
Our bodies are spending massive, uncalculated amounts of biological energy constantly fighting and filtering the ambient toxins of the modern world.
And the sources use a striking, almost haunting analogy to illustrate the biological cost of being a human filter.
The ant analogy.
Yes, the ant. They ask the reader to imagine a common ant. Naturally, let's say this specific ant has a maximum biological lifespan of 5 days. If you leave it completely alone in a pure environment, it lives for exactly 5 days and then naturally expires of old age.
Right.
But if you take a can of chemical bug spray and mist that ant on day 1, it dies immediately.
And the crucial philosophical distinction the text makes is that the ant didn't reach the end of its natural lifespan.
No.
Its life was prematurely terminated by an overwhelming environmental toxin.
And the argument Fuchi Wu is making is that humans are essentially walking through a highly diluted, slow-motion cloud of bug spray every single day of our lives.
That's a terrifying way to put it, but yes.
I mean, the microplastics in our food, the heavy metals in the smog, the formaldehyde in our mattresses, It's a very slow, decades-long bug spray.
And this is the ultimate goal of the technology. The sources are careful to clarify that Heaven Air Plus doesn't magically grant you immortality. It doesn't possess mystical healing properties that cure existing cellular damage.
So it's not a fountain of youth.
No, not at all.
Mm.
What it does is remove the lifespan shackles of environmental poisoning.
The lifespan shackles.
By deploying these machines to do the filtering for you, by stopping your lungs and liver from acting as a human air purifier, you take away the slow-motion bug spray.
You just stop poisoning yourself.
It simply allows your biological systems to exist unburdened. It gives you the fighting chance to actually reach the absolute maximum biological limit of your natural lifespan.
Rather than having your life prematurely chipped away by 1,000 tiny, invisible, toxic cuts.
Precisely.
It's incredibly profound when you step back and trace the whole journey of this concept.
It really is.
I mean, we started this deep dive by talking about something that sounded claustrophobic, right? Sealing off a room, locking the windows, and taping over the central AC vents.
Right, which felt so unnatural at first.
But then we zoomed in. We looked at the physics of the sacrificial ToxBox, where toxic particles are electroplated to metal walls by their own inertia.
And complex chemical gases are cold processed into water vapor.
We saw how the new wind machine acts as the bouncer, while the human paradise machine sweeps the floor. And ultimately, we arrived at a total rethinking of human mortality. We aren't just naturally aging. Our internal filters are simply wearing out from the toxic load of our environments.
It completely reframes the very space around you. The air in your living room is no longer just empty, passive space. It is a highly active, highly consequential substance that your biology is forced to interact with every second of the day.
I know that the next time you, the listener, sit down on a brand new couch or step into a freshly painted room or just watch those little dust motes float through a shaft of sunlight in your bedroom, you are probably going to think about those invisible, volatile, organic compounds.
Hard to ignore them now.
Yeah, you're going to realize that in that exact moment, your lungs are doing the heavy lifting of the ToxBox. You are the human air purifier.
It is a heavy realization. But it also presents a roadmap for a future where engineered environments might finally lift that immense biological burden off of our shoulders.
It does. But it leaves me with one final, incredibly provocative thought. It's a question that the source materials don't really address fully, but one that I just can't stop mulling over.
Well, what's that?
Let's say we do this. Let's say society adopts this technology, and we spend our working hours, our sleeping hours, and our relaxing hours locked inside these perfectly sterile 8-0 single-room paradises.
Okay.
We completely stop acting as human air purifiers indoors.
We lay down the burden.
Right. But biological systems, especially human biology, operate on a strict use it or lose it basis.
Interesting.
I mean, think about astronauts losing bone density in zero gravity. If our immune systems and our respiratory defenses spend 20 hours a day with absolutely nothing to fight, no minor pollen, no household dust, no low-level pathogens, what happens to us?
That's a great point.
Do our internal defenses simply power down? Do our bodies become so fragile, so biologically accustomed to the sterile perfection of Heaven Air Plus Day, that stepping outside that sealed door, out into the real, unfiltered, chaotic world, becomes completely intolerable? It really makes you wonder. The next time that room starts to feel a little heavy and you reach out to throw open that window, are you letting the fresh air in, or are you just letting the harsh reality of the world remind your immune system how to survive?